Okay.
I was just gonna, I'll send them all at one time, if I had an email I was making up for it, so I'll just send them at one time for you.
Okay.
The questions I had.
All right.
Wasn't that many so far.
Okay, well, I would encourage you, if you do, to contact me between now and April 2nd, which
I'll get
is
'em.
now and a week from now, via email or phone, and we can kind of talk through your questions. And then we'll plan on picking up the discussion in depth on April 2nd. Now, is that one of the meetings where you have to leave early, Tom?
Yeah.
I thought so.
6:30.
Okay.
That's why I just remembered.
So we'll probably do, we'll probably split that, it's an hour, I think we have an hour and a half that night, so we'll probably split that between budget discussions and board policy. And depending on how far we get, if we need to, we may need to schedule an additional study session at some point if we get jammed up on this. That's basically all I wanted to say about it, unless you have any additional questions on that. Okay, that was the easy part. Now, item C, school board terms. As you know, our legislature changed the rules for board elections. School board elections now are required to be in November of even years, all right? And so we have basically two big decisions to make before we can, one big decision, but two options, before we can begin work on revising our board bylaws, which are set up for every year elections, all right? The options are to go to four-year board, or to stay with four-year board terms. However, that would mean that you only have elections in the even years, because that's the new requirement. And the other option is to go to six-year board terms, which would mean that we would have elections every 2 years, which would also mean extending board terms of current board members.
They're already extended.
Well, you're right.
Two of us are.
Well, two of you are right now, and if you go to six-year terms, we have to develop a transition plan that basically says this is how we're going to do it to get everybody on the same page. And that will come with our policy change, but as I understand things, right now, we have a rotation with four-year terms of 2, 2, 2, and 1. In other words, we have two board seats up for election 3 years in a row, and then we have, because 7 is an odd number, we have 1 year where we have 1. Last year was our year with Sandy as the only seat that was up.
Well, can't we take the one, can we
Make it a
merge
3.
the 1 to make it 2, 2, and 3? That would save the district money on not running an election.
Well, the November elections are usually freebies, because there's usually other elections.
why the state
Yeah, and that's why,
Right.
that's why they did that. So, we could do that. I think you can do whatever you want as far as that goes. But the preliminary decision, I think that will impact whether you want to go with four-year terms or six-year terms, despite the fact that a 6-year is a bigger commitment in terms of time, is that, and I want to make sure everybody understands, so when you go with four-year terms, you have basically the same rotation schedule after we get used to having the 2 years instead of the four-year election, or every year election. When you go with, I'm sorry, I misstated that. When you go with six-year board terms,
You would have the same.
it's 2, 2, 2, and 1. So you would preserve that, that order, all right? When you go with four-year terms, though, it's going to be, on 1 year, it will be 4 seats up, and and 2 years later, it will be 3 seats up. So you're in theory, almost half of the board is up for election every 2 years, if you stay with four-year terms. And I know, as your wheels turn on this, you're probably going to have some other questions, but those are basically the biggest ramifications of this. So 6-year terms, longer commitment, same rotation that the board is used to.
I just got a question, actually, it's for Cheryl and Sandy, because they're the only ones on here that's been on it long, too. Would you do it with a 6-year commitment or a 4-year commitment? That's the question. Because if,
Yeah, because I was
Because,
Cheryl
I mean,
and Rob are already extended though,
We're
right?
extended.
no,
to 14.
we're talking about when you initially run.
Oh, I got you.
Sandy's been reelected, and so is Cheryl, that's why I was asking them, would you go with a 6-year Would you do this job if you knew it was for 6 years or 4 years?
Oh, I love it. I'd do it for
Yeah.
whatever. No, you know
You
what?
want my
that's-
pencil
no.
sharp? You know it's getting longer.
Yeah, right.
But you know what?
It is a big commitment.
It's a
It's a
commitment.
large
So,
commitment.
most of the time, if you're really committed, you're probably gonna try to seek reelection again.
Mhm.
So, it's kind of a hard decision. It's a personal thing. I would do it for 6 years, but I do it for 4 or 6, so, with me.
I guess I look at it as on the other side. I like the fact that if I elect someone and I find out that I don't like what they're doing, that I don't have to wait 6 years, I only have to wait 4.
That's true, too.
And so, to me, I think a 4-year term
Is better.
Is better, yeah.
That's a good point. That's a
Yep.
good point, too. Give citizens the opportunity to
Yep.
put in who they want.
Yep.
It gives the people a chance to run too, that,
Might wanna become
Yeah.
involved.
yep.
Because 6 years is a big commitment
I
when you
think
commit
so,
something.
too.
It is a
I
big
mean,
commitment.
It's a large
I
commitment.
wish the city would change theirs a little bit, but, we're not there, so. I personally like the 4, to be honest. And
I
some
like
of us
4.
are all
Because 4
extended.
is a long commitment.
4 is
anyways.
long.
I mean, 4 is a lot.
Might stress you out enough.
I mean, the only benefit there would be is on the candidate. They wouldn't have to run as much and do all the legwork of running. That's the benefit as a candidate, but as somebody sitting in a seat, you've really gotta have it in your mind if you want that commitment for 6 years versus 4 years. And as we all know on the board, the first year is pretty much an educational year.
Right, you're just
You're-
learning.
And about the fourth
First
year,
couple.
about the third year, you're actually getting the hang of it. In the fourth year, you're deciding if you wanna do it again.
Right.
So,
Amen to that.
it sounds crazy, but that's,
That's the truth.
I personally like the 4 year.
I think 4.
I think
Four's good.
4.
4's good.
4.
What you think, Jim?
4.
And President, it appears we have consensus on 4-year terms. That was good.
Carl, you said other districts it was like half.
I said, and that's informal because a lot of them haven't formally acted on it, but just talking to superintendents around the county, it's pretty much split. It's not like everybody's going in one direction or the other.
Yeah.
Now, as far as you said the seats, it would be really kind of half of the board. It would be 3 members and then 4 members.
That's correct.
Okay.
And so just so you know that this is coming, because I know you'll figure this out, that's probably going to impact your process for board officers too. Because in theory, if 4 seats have brand-new members, you have 4 officers, that means somebody would be an officer their very first year on the board.
That's where we may have to change how we do that.
That's why I'm saying-
Is that what
Officers-
you
Supposed
were
to be
talking
done by
about?
open vote anyway.
Right, but it should be done, it's gotta be done with the new board members on, so it'd have to be January 1 versus June.
I think it did say January 1 would be your.
That's norm.
Your
I-
meeting.
Yeah, I know when I worked in Dearborn
January.
7, we had
I
November
think that's what I
elections
read
and
in-
January was their organizational
I read
meeting.
in this, it said January.
So then, do we need to make that adjustment as well? Because
Well-
then that changes a whole lot of other
Right.
things.
That's one of many that we're gonna
We'll
need
have
to make.
Well, see,
Extend
that-
our
Okay.
banking
2014,
arrangements and
yeah.
everything.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying, the first decision is tell us what you want to do, and you've done that. So then what we'll do is we'll start to put together, we'll look at all the things that need to be changed and all the options that you have.
Well, it's gonna take a couple of years for it to get in the flow, because the first year, this year, Danielle and myself are the only 2 that are up.
Right.
Then 2016,
14.
14.
It'll be
14,
we
every
are
2 years.
14s, we are 14s.
No, we're
No,
12.
12.
Yours
Right,
were
12.
12.
Okay,
So
let's see.
here's what's going to happen
Yeah.
with 4-year terms, all right? In 2012, Tom and Danielle's seats are up, if I did this correctly. 2014, it's going to be John, Teresa, Rob, and Cheryl's seats will be up. And then in 2016, this is where we now start the 4 and the 3.
that's when-
2016, then
follow.
Tom's seat, Danielle's seat, and Sandy's seat would be up.
Gotcha.
So the first year, it's only 2 seats, that, as I understand things. Then it's 4-3.
I was wondering how that went.
It'll be 4-3 thereafter until the laws change again. Or you change your bylaws and decide you want to go 6 years. Any other questions? Now, we're going to try to get this work all completed in time for your bylaws to be adopted at the same time you adopt all the other policy revisions. But I know that school districts are typically running this one through their attorney because we just want to make sure that we don't miss anything that has to change. And I heard somebody mention, about banking and those kinds of things. That could actually stay because of the fiscal year, or we could just do it all in January because we're used to doing that at the same time that we do our officers. Again, that'll be a board prerogative.
Colonel, when do we pass this resolution? Once we get the policy in place?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is going to be 4 years.
Okay, well, I appreciate giving us the direction, and we will take the ball and run with it. Brings us to item D, teachers receiving tenure, and Mrs. Peck is going to give us a brief update on that.
Well, we talked last time at our last board meeting about the tenure process and the changes to the tenure law. I also shared with you some of the data that we have for our current teachers. And on that chart, it also kind of indicated, I'm just going to clearly spell it out to you tonight, there are no teachers up for tenure. So I won't be bringing anybody to tenure this year.
That was easy. That was short
All
and
right.
sweet.
Yeah.
Is that brief?
Every item was that simple.
Question?
Were you gonna pass that out, or no?
Oh, I'm sorry. Last week you had also asked, Danielle had asked if I could provide for you the teacher assistance track is what we call it. We talked about teachers that get put on plans that might need a little bit additional assistance. This is the teacher assistance track that our teachers go on. It looks like a lot, but it's mostly forms. So if you just want to, just kind of look over the beginning.
Is this the current one, or is this going to be revised?
This is the current one, and
Got a
we
few
are,
people on here that-
we are in a revision stage on this, making it 100% compliant with the new legislation. So this is what we're operating on right now.
Okay, these committee members that are on here, that are no longer in the district, they still help out?
No, actually, the revised version of this, I can't put it out yet because it's still in draft form.
All right.
It has kind of a rolling committee. It has the years, these committee members were 2008 to 2010, and then we have 11, 12, and beyond members. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Rebecca, how much Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
excuse me, how many revisions did we have to make to be compliant? Was this pretty much what we had? Was this pretty much in compliance with the law?
There's a few things, we have to make sure that we include student growth.
Right.
We also have to include our effectiveness ratings. Those effectiveness ratings also have to apply here. For the most part, our IDP, the development plan, is in compliance with the legislation. We just have to put some things in here, for example, the 180 days maximum allowed on an IDP. That wasn't the previous law, but it is now.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Missing a person.
Okay. Next, item E, extension of the central office group contracts. I believe Danielle has a topic sheet.
Yeah.
You get some for this one, too.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I pass me two, please? Two? Thank you.
We'll need a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that the Board of Education extend the employment contracts of the individuals listed below through June 30th, 2014. This recommendation is based on satisfactory performance evaluations of all employees listed below and understanding that these individuals will continue to work with the board and the superintendent regarding fair compensation and benefits.
She was on
Do I have to, should I
I only count
list the
10.
names?
No,
I
I
only
don't.
count 10. Was there 11?
It's only 10.
Oh, it's
The
only
other-
10.
Yeah,
The other ones?
curriculum is a,
Right, it's
Right,
under the
it's
grant.
separate.
Gotcha. So it should be like 10.
We need a second.
We have motion by Mrs. Buckley,